So glad to have you back on Mastering Counseling. Today, we are so excited to have Diane Webb with us. Thanks for being with us today, Diane.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
She is the co-founder of With Grace Mental Health Counseling and kind of has a holistic approach in helping many clients, specifically her, with anxiety and trauma in the past and those sort of things. But she is part of a practice where they have other clinicians who specialize in all kinds of areas. So we can't wait to hear about your practice and the work that you're doing. But why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into the mental health world to start?
Sure. So when I was a young person, about 18 or so, I was an art student to start out.
Okay.
And to be really transparent, I was in a very horribly traumatic car accident and did a lot of self-reflection and decided that I wanted to do something that was better made the world a better place, because I could have almost died in an accident. And after something like that, you kind of self-reflect about what would my legacy have been? What do I want to do while I'm here? And so I knew I wanted to be in the helping field at that point, at like 18, 19, but I didn't know it was going to be counseling. So I just took a lot of women's studies courses, psychology, and I just kind of tripped and fell, honestly, into counseling.
Okay.
And and that's been pretty much all I've ever done with my adult life besides having kids,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like quite a lot. And I love the phrase tripped and fell into it. But I'm sure that your love of art and focus on that comes out in the mental health world, I'm sure a little bit.
It does. And I'm not alone in that. There's a lot of us in psychotherapy that have a real big creative side. And so a lot of the work that I do is really out of the box, so there's a lot of creative thinking that goes along with trauma therapy, with unique solutions. I think it uses the same part of brain that artistic expression comes from, but I have nothing to back that up besides intuition.
Right, right. Let's talk about some of the strategies and practices that you use. I know that do you do some work with EMDR and Brainspotting? Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Yeah, those are my two favorite techniques to use with clients are EMDR and Brainspotting. For me, I specialize in all forms of trauma, from developmental trauma to single incidents, also anxiety, and Brainspotting and EMDR are really the perfect match for things like that. I think that these techniques can really fast track a detox from those traumatic memories in a way that other techniques just can't. That's just my personal opinion,
There's others who agree with you for sure.
Yeah, and others that don't, But from my experience, for almost about 20 years now of doing this work, I always come back to Brainspotting and EMDR. It's really so helpful. And what I love about it is that, well, with trauma, what happens is the memories are really stuck. And I always compare it to if we had something that was stuck in the digestive tract, right? You want to move it through the digestive system. And similarly, you want to move a traumatic memory through the neurological system, right? So what happens with trauma is it's stuck. And when you do EMDR Brainspotting, it really gently, using your own neurological makeup, helps you to move it through your system, is what it does. But one really powerful part of those techniques is that you can really help clients to visualize and neurologically start opening the channel for their strengths, for what they want to happen. And so you really can do both of these things with EMDR and Brainspotting. And so that's what I like to do. When I do trauma therapy with people, it's definitely not just focused on the bad. That's also about creating the neurological makeup for them to have a great next chapter after this happened to them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the follow-up and I think strategies for the rest of their life, even if they're not always in therapy, must be huge for sure. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, thank you for that. I would love to hear about the name of your practice, With Grace Mental Health Counseling. Is there a story behind that, or how did you guys come up with that?
So my business partner, Nicole Edwards, we are extraordinarily close friends. We're both mothers, obviously both therapists. When we were deciding to join together to create this group practice and coming up with a name, we wanted something that was, again, strength-based, but also spoke to faith. Nicole is a very devout Christian, and the name With Grace, mental health counseling, was really powerful and important for her.
Mhm.
And I love the sound of it too. So we went with that. And we do a lot of Christian counseling at our practice.
Okay, that's great to hear. I'm a Christian as well, and my husband is a pastor, and so he does a lot of, he does some counseling. We have other people who specialize in it more, but that's great to hear. And yeah, anytime the word grace can be used, I think is awesome. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. Let's talk a little bit more about your practice. And you shared already that you are with your best friend, which is, or a very close friend. What an
She is my best friend.
Your
Yeah.
best friend, okay. I was like, "I think she said it, but I don't wanna misquote and then have the wrong friend here." But anyway, that's amazing to work with someone so close to you all the time, and then, we were talking before about how welcoming, your website is and how not only do you wanna have amazing, help for your clients, but clinicians who work there are treated very well. I'll let you describe kind of the snack room and the schedule and all of that, but it made me wanna try to apply and work there for sure.
That's the best compliment ever. So we've had a lot of growth, but we're a young practice. We will be 6 years old this September. For Nicole and I, we bared witness to a lot of mistreatment of therapists, and we just want to do things differently. You know, her and I have also had different experiences with that. You know, when I worked for a group practice called Pinnacle Behavioral Health in my area around Albany, I was treated with the utmost respect. They were incredible. And when I opened a group, they were still incredibly supportive of that too, you know. So that said, in some other places I worked and places that Nicole had worked as well, it wasn't that way. Therapists are notoriously taken advantage of and underpaid and expected to not have a lunch break, to not have a work-life balance. There's a lot that goes wrong in that space. And pretty much what many other practices did, we decided to do it completely different to create the best work environment that we could. You know, the work is hard already. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's not like we can make everything perfect, right? Because the work is inherently difficult. But we have our therapists create their own schedules. We do not tell them when they should or should not see clients. So they say what days they want to work and for how long. We help our therapists to orient to private practice, you know, with mentorship. And we make sure that someone's available for them as much as possible when they need. We give a lot of supervision. So we have experts on staff in working with kids, in working with couples. I do trainings for them and with them about trauma therapy to make sure that they really get a lot out of the experience. We also take the vibe of the office very seriously, you know, so we make sure that we have a professional but lighthearted feel. You know, we get together for lunch every Thursday. The practice provides lunch. It's the little things. It's just show that we care, that we value them and their time. And we just kind of also take a pulse of how do you guys feel about the culture here, you know, and we take the feedback, right? A lot of places don't even ask their staff that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's one thing that we do. So that's us about the work family that we have, and we enjoy very much. One thing that we do that I think is a little bit unique to us is we really encourage our therapists to specialize. And of course, not right away. You know, most therapists, when they have a limited permit and they're still getting their hours for licensure, they may want to see a wide variety to fine tune what they're really interested in and what they're naturally more good at, right? Because that's a thing too, you know?
Right.
So we encourage that process. And when someone is ready to zero in on a population or a topic, we help them to do that by helping them to design what type of credentials they might want to seek next or what type of advanced training. We'll help them financially with those trainings, and then help them curate a caseload that is really fine-tuned to their unique interests and their skills.
Well, you explained it wonderfully. I loved seeing all the ways that people feel comfortable. And you're right, the work is hard. The stories are hard when you're hearing people's trauma. And so to be able to lighten the background stress, I guess, of the workplace has to be so huge. And so how big is your practice, would you say, at this point? How many clinicians are part of it?
Right now, there's about 25 of us.
Okay, wow. For
And
6 years and being newer, that's pretty amazing.
yeah, we opened 6 years ago. So it was before COVID happened, right?
I agree.
And you never know what's going to happen in the, no one knew about COVID was happening, right? I mean,
Right. Yeah.
yeah. And that was a very difficult thing for all of us, right? No one was immune to that. But one positive thing that came out of that time of life, I think for all of us, is that there's a more openness to mental health treatment.
Mhm.
It's more widely accepted after that experience. And so during COVID, we did expand substantially to help to provide as open up services as much as possible. That said, even if we had 100 therapists, we wouldn't even touch the need probably, but we just do what we can and have peace that has to be enough for now.
Right, right. I also noticed that if you work there, you don't have to, you have other people who work with the insurance companies. And I'm imagining you have some people handling more the business part of it in the HR and taxes and all of that. Can you talk about that? What happens behind the scenes?
Sure. So to accommodate such a huge growth in our company,
Mhm.
things are very different today than they were 6 years ago. So 6 years ago, Nicole and I were the everything, we were the HR department. We still don't have an HR department, but back then
Right,
there was a joke that like, if you want to talk to HR, you got to talk to me or Nicole,
right.
to provide the support that was needed for this type of growth in the past 6 years. We have a business director, we have an intake coordinator, we have a billing team that is separate from us, but that works very closely in conjunction with us for all of our billing needs. So we also have a clinical director too. One of our therapists got promoted to clinical director a couple years ago. She's amazing and does a lot for the practice and for our therapists. So there's an infrastructure there. And then, of course, we have payroll that helps us with taxes. Because everyone that works for us is an employee, they're not, I'm sorry, I'm so tired because of my being in postpartum. What's the real word?
I'm thinking because, I don't know. I had an idea, but it might be the wrong word.
Well, they're W-2 employees,
Oh, yes. They're not out in their own private, like individual. They're not like
right,
a 1090
right,
or whatever.
right. Yes, yes. A 99. Yeah.
Oh, 1099.
So taxes are taken out of their payroll. And we have a great payroll company that takes care of all of that. And, which is important because we also have, their healthcare premiums that are coming out now. Since we've grown as an organization, we're able to give benefits like that, sick time, things like this. So yeah, so there's a whole infrastructure on the back end of our business to support everybody.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And really, I think so impressive. I mean, 6 years goes by fast and all that's happened in the world for you guys to have expanded that much and be able to offer that is so much. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
I was thinking, and we haven't talked about this here too often, with you being very open to if people need the time off or if something comes up and they can't see their clients. How do you guys work on filling in for each other and covering for clients when the therapist has become ill or has a family need?
Sure. Well, two of us on the team are out on maternity leave right now, myself and one of our therapists. And then another one of us is out for maternity leave in May. So there's a lot of that happens. We work closely together. We will start the process. Well, if we know it's a maternity leave, we're going to start the process early about helping to set our clients up for success, to transfer their cases to whoever would be the most appropriate fit for the time. But that said, if someone's out on an emergency, right? And let's say they have like a medical issue that they didn't foresee before, is going to be a while, then we have the clinical director, myself, and Nicole, who can all help to coordinate the care from there, either with us or in-house with one of the other therapists. One of the beauties about being such a big team is that at least a few of us are taking new clients at the same time. So if someone's out, we can switch, for the time being, that person's care, right? That said, there's a lot to be said about not having notice from your therapist, but, sometimes emergencies happen, right? So we do our best to acknowledge, right, any feelings of loss or the attachment difficulty with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not as simple as a guest teacher coming into a school, but it sounds like you guys have a pretty good plan and people know things happen to everybody. So, yeah, but thank you for sharing that. With your practice, at 25 people, and you guys have all kinds of specialties for different needs. What would you say are some of the needs you're seeing the most of, or if you were thinking who you might need to hire in the next 2 or 3 years, what type of specialties are you seeing a lot of that are needed for your clients?
Far and wide services for children and teens. And that's something that we've been accounting for and been planning for. And there's plans to open a counseling center just for kids pretty soon. Because the need is so high. We really want it to be a welcoming environment for children. So this new location that we will have, when children go in, they're going to know it's for them. From the furnishings to how it looks to how it feels, it's completely catered to kids, even like child-sized furniture and things like that.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I love that. And you guys are in New York State and fairly close to New York City?
No, we're
Albany.
we're in Albany. Well, we're north of Albany. So one of our locations is in Clifton Park. We have one in Saratoga Springs, one that's in Queensbury. So we're about 2.5 hours north of New York City in the foothills of the Adirondacks, far up there. Yeah.
All right. No, that's great. A very specialized place for children. I'm sure you will fill up very fast. And that sounds like an in-person center. Are you guys all in person? Are you hybrid, or are some people only virtual?
We do have some that are only virtual. We have one person that is exclusively virtual in our practice. Most of us, it's a hybrid. Some of our therapists prefer in person, and so they're all in person with no online services. It's again something that we encourage our therapists to think about and design that right work life for themselves, whether that's online or in person or a mixture of both. And yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah, I love it. What would be some advice you would maybe have for people either who are going to jump into a master's in counseling or therapy, or people in the middle of the program, or people maybe almost done and considering joining a private practice or beginning at an agency?
I actually have the same advice for all people in all of those stages, and that would be to keep a real open mind and learn about everything with a beginner's mind. Don't go in thinking that you already know.
Yeah.
Go in really wholeheartedly, just willingness to learn about a lot of different things, even the things that you think you have no interest in, because you never know. That thing you don't have any interest in could be what your expertise is. When I was in grad school, I was mocking and laughing at EMDR, and now here I am, like the biggest fangirl. You just never know, right? And I probably would have never said that I wanted to be a trauma therapist either, and it happens to be one of the biggest passions of my life now, You just don't know. Sometimes the thing that you're a little bit nervous about or don't want to do, happens to be the thing that you really, can add value to.
Yes, I so agree. It's funny how thinking back to before, I think being a mom too, as I am as well, that your perspectives change, the things you care about. I know for me, I used to be able to watch a lot of just entertaining TV shows, and now I thought of it, it just freaks me out. So we do change so much by each decade, and I think that's great advice for people who are beginning their career, that they don't want to close themselves off too soon to a specific part of this world. So yeah. Well, we appreciate your time today. I think you might be you have other kids, but she just had a baby a few weeks ago. So we are really appreciative of your time. You do not look like you had a baby a few weeks ago.
Thank
You look
you.
great.
I feel
Um,
like I will say that. Thank
yeah.
you.
So I think we got a lot of great insight, and especially I love the way that you treat your coworkers and the people who are part of your practice. I think that's really good, and I'm sure comes out, and that's why it's growing and booming all the time. So
Thank
thank you
you.
so much for that.
Thank you for having me. It's so great to meet you.
Great to meet you. To our listeners, thank you so much for joining us in this episode. Feel free to leave us reviews or ask questions, and we look forward to our future episodes. Signing off for today is Becky. Have a wonderful day.